Welcome to Nintendo Ninja News. I'm your host, Chris Dices, and we are here with our first sort of retro past console review, and that is going to be Goldeneye for the Wii console, the reimagining version of the game. So we're going to be jumping right into it, talking about the game, and see what I thought about the game now, and probably back in the day when I played the game for the Wii console. So let's start that off right now. So our first retro review is Goldeneye 007 back on the Wii console, reimagining by Activision and all that sort of stuff. Now, I remember playing back on the original version with the Wii Remote Nunchuck. And I found that to be a pretty cool experience. It was a lot of fun, and I did find GoldenEye 007 one of the best shooter games for the Wii console. Now, you can play this game with pretty much any sort of controller outlet, and you can do it with the Wii Remote Nunchuck, the Classic Controller Wii, the Classic Controller Pro, which I've used for recent times, and even a GameCube controller, which is pretty cool. And so instead of using a watch like in the original version, you actually use your mobile phone for all the spy stuff and things like that. And I found that wasn't too bad to modernize it. And one of the interesting things that I found out was Daniel Craig, who is the current James Bond, had played the original, and he was a bit of a gamer himself. And he understood the impact of the game and that sort of stuff. And he had a bit of involvement in how the game would be, and the game obviously had to have some changes because he's a different type of James Bond to Pierce Brosnan, and I think that was something was some good decision making and things like that. So I was happy with those sort of choices. Now, obviously, I think it's got some nice graphics here and there, the best it can for the Wii console back in that time. There's a whole wide range of weapons, 25 or so, and a lot of the missions I liked. The first one starts off very well. It's a lot more cinematic in terms of getting into the truck and, you know, having a bit of dramas of guards and that trying to get into your truck and explosions and things like that. As a shooter, I think it's not too bad. I think it did a good job of creating that GoldenEye James Bond experience, and I was pretty happy about that sort of sense. And I really enjoyed the shooting and the movement and things like that. And the AIs are not too bad in this game. Now, one of the things I probably was a little bit disappointed about was I felt like there was a little more spy stuff for the original, especially in the train level and stuff like that. Mainly your mobile phone in the game either hacks things or, you know, helps open doors and things like that. So I felt like there was a little less spy stuff in this game, which was disappointing, to say the least. And I was a little disappointed in that regard. Now, the multiplayer is not too bad. You can do 4 local player and 8 online, but now with the service of the Wii and the DS pretty much discontinued, you can't go online, which is a shame. One of the things that I think they really missed out on was that you can't do multiplayer with one player and, you know, do a map and go off and, you know, beat up some bots over 10, 20, 30 minutes like you could in GoldenEye 007 for the N64 and Perfect Dark on the same console. So I was pretty disappointed about that part because that was one of the fun things that I liked playing about the game. And so it was a little disappointing in that regard. Now, other things that I enjoyed about it was some of the levels are definitely really nice. Some of the shooting, some of the action scenes are really out there. And there's definitely a lot of times when you're under pressure. Even in easy mode at times, but some of the harder modes are really, really tough, and you have to really not charge into certain rooms and places, and that you've got to really think about what weapons to use and what would be best for you. And I found that was all part of the challenge, and that was really, really cool. I felt playing it years later on, it has obviously aged compared to other shooters, but I still think it's one of the better games for the Wii console, and I think that I enjoyed it quite a lot, going back to it on the big screen TV, going through those missions, passing them, using different weapons and that. I had a habit of running out of bullets, which was probably not particularly great, but I think overall there was a good sense of enjoyment from it. I think it's a good re-image of GoldenEye 007. I think I remembered back in the day that people were quite excited for it, and they were also a little bit nervous about how Activision would have done this. But I feel like this was a pretty faithful reimagining of it. Is it better than the original? Well, probably not. I don't think it recaptures that magic or the original multiplayer stuff. It's definitely improved on a technical level, graphics and things you can do with AI, but there's still a few things the N64 version does better. So we'll head back to the desk and find out what final mark I gave it. So what is the final score that I give GoldenEye 007 for the Wii? I give it an 8 out of 10. I could have given it a bit more, but I think it's aged a bit over time, and there's still a few things about it that I don't quite like. The spy element isn't as strong. You can't do local multiplayer by yourself, and a few little tips and taps over there about the game itself. But still, it's a good score, and it's still definitely possibly one of the best shooter games for the Wii console around, until that crown was definitely taken off it when the Wii U came around with Splatoon. So, pretty interesting times. So, that's what I've got. It's a great game, GoldenEye 007, the Wii version. So, that's it for me, and I shall see you later on.